So, did you guys gather a few more questions to go over? Yep. Okay. Victor, go ahead.
Page 328,
Page 328.
66.
Is that math?
Oh,
Okay.
328?
yeah,
Yeah.
66.
That's not from chapter 24, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, so not yet.
No.
Because that will be part of practice exam A and B on Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
So let's skip those for now.
Okay.
Because that's what we're going to do. On Thursday and Friday, it's going to be practice exam A, 110 questions here live. And then on Friday will be practice exam B, 110 questions again here live.
Thursday and Friday?
Right.
So we're gonna end Thursday.
We were, but then I decided to do this open forum thing. You paid until the 14th, so
No, until Thursday, right?
Friday.
Friday we're off.
no, we're here Friday.
Come Friday?
Mhm.
This Friday?
Yeah. You want to come next Friday?
I thought we were off. Are we or no?
She's like, are we? Are we not? No, we're not up. Actually, let me tell you the truth about that. Here's the thing. After the core chapters, after 22 chapters, technically, you don't have to come anymore. You want to schedule the exam for tomorrow, we'll schedule the exam for tomorrow. You got it?
Yeah.
What I recommend is that you participate as much as you can in the classes because, believe it or not, it is tough. If we don't go over these questions, if we don't prepare you for the exam, it will be tough. If you're not studying at home, then definitely be here.
No, I wanna come, but that's what I'm asking.
No, and that's I'm letting everybody know that today's not mandatory, tomorrow's not mandatory. None of these days until Friday is mandatory. The 22 chapters, the core chapters, mandatory.
But are we gonna be here on Friday?
But we are going to be here on Friday, yes. Well, I'm going to be. I don't know about you. I'm going to be here.
I thought you mentioned yesterday that.
I did mention, but I had forgotten that I have a few people coming to do practice exam A and practice exam B, and we did schedule for Thursday and Friday this one. So I have people outside of the class coming just for
What are you gonna
the
do Friday?
test prep.
Friday, just to go over this?
Practice exam B. So there's going to be 2 days of 110 questions each. So Thursday, 110 questions as if you were in the state exam, and then Friday, 110 questions as if you were in the state exam.
I thought we were off on Friday. I already made plans. I really did. I thought we were off. When you said Thursday, come back. I was like, okay, Thursday test and go home.
It's my greatest fault.
I was just missing for like 5 minutes.
No mind. Please. Say 5 minutes again, please.
It's my fault, yes. Questions?
Can we do a recap of questions? Like, on chapters 9 to 15, just basic stuff?
9 through 15, just basic stuff? Didn't we do those already? We didn't do 9 through 15?
We did. Coming back up.
I'm not sure. Hmm? We did? Yeah, we did. Is there a particular question there you want to?
No.
We got 10 questions.
Well, I'm more concerned right now. We can do that, but I'm more concerned right now with what you're currently studying and the questions you have while you're studying versus me throwing questions at you. I want to go specific. You tell me I got stuck on this question, or you see what I'm saying? Because if I just give information to you, that's what I've been doing for 22 chapters and the reviews. So I want the students to give me where they're stuck, and I give them the answer for those questions. And that's what we're doing today and tomorrow, because that Thursday and Friday, I'm giving you exams. All right? Non-qualified exams, so you're not going to be a pass or fail yet. All right? So for now, ask all the questions. Let's address as much as we can. So if you find a specific question that you have questions on, I'll gladly go over it.
I have a math question.
Okay?
If someone has a building and it's telling us that the gross income is $50,000 a year,
Okay.
and that person wants to know what would be the value of the building.
Okay.
With the gross income of 50,000, or we can make it a net income of 50,000.
Yeah.
How can we determine the price of the building?
So that's a very good question. If we have 15,000, $15,000, and you said net income,
Net income.
right? That's what they take home. Your question is, what is the value? The problem is you need to know the cap rate. So you're missing cap. Without cap rate, you'll never know the value, because the formula is NOI divided by cap rate equals value. How do we figure out cap rate? We need to look at comps. So you're going to look at buildings that are the same structure. They're income producing buildings. And when I say same structure, it doesn't have to be residential apartment building. We're talking about income producing buildings, and figure out for this type of building, right, whatever you're comparing to, what is the acceptable cap rate in the area? A lot of people get scared, 11% or 5% cap rate. Doesn't matter whatsoever what cap rate it is. What matters is, in this area, what is the demand? If the demand is a 5% cap rate, then that's what we apply here. So it would be $15,000 divided by 5%. Okay? What is the optimal cap rate? It depends on the area. And there's two cap rates. I'm not going to address it now because it's not for state exam, but there's the entry and the exit cap rate. So entry cap rate, lower, exit cap rate, higher. Right? So it's very important that you guys know that there's no exact number for cap rate, and don't scare your investors, cap rate is too high or cap rate is too low. Or, no. Let's figure out the numbers. Okay? So right here, you need to look at comps. If property A says that, the cap rate for this similar building was 5%, property B says the cap rate was 5.25, property C and D, then we have 4.75, and we have 4.90, whatever. We're going to figure out the average, and we'll know that the average is going to be around 5%. So what is the acceptable cap rate in the area?
5%.
5%. So what I would do now is $15,000, right, divided by 5%. And that will tell me the value of the property. Or steering wheel, income goes on top, rate on the bottom, and you know that you have to divide. You got it? But the core thing to know is this. Sorry if I'm going too fast. But the core thing to know is this, the comps in the area. If you don't know the comps, you don't know what the cap rate is. And comps for cap rates are different than comps for regular homes, because regular homes are driven by sales, where cap rates are driven by income versus sales. All right? So that's what you need to remember. And that's the IRV formula. You got it?
IRE formula.
IRV, income rate value. Income divided by rate equals value. Do you want to, like? Okay.
Yeah, definitely need to know your cap rate.
Once you're out there, yes. For state exam, it's not that big of a deal. You just need to know how to calculate this. And again,
Can you give an example, for instance, if you go on Ferry Street, cap rate, it's still Newark. Cap rate is.
Fair Street?
Well, we're gonna do a comparison in Newark. Ferry Street cap rate is 5.5, as well as downtown, right? But if you come here, in this area where we are located, it's only a few blocks, cap rate is 7%. And the value changes, the same building changes tremendously.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you want to do an example.
We can, but the point of that, what you said right now, is the same thing with regular comps. A 3-family in the middle of the Ironbound is totally different than a 3-family in North Newark or South Newark.
Correct.
Changes tremendously the values. You go from 700s to 5 to 3, 4, sorry. So a huge difference in values, and we're only a few minutes away. All right, so cap rates do change as well. Sorry, I'm just trying to get some. So, and what you need to remember also is that it's NOI. So it's after expenses, always. So you started off talking about gross. It's after the expenses, because if you use the gross value, that's not the true value. Because this building can bring $1 million and another building brings $500,000. But if the expenses are too high here and no expenses over there, then that one might have a bigger value than this one. Because the value is determined not by the income, the gross income, but by the net income. Okay? So you have to remember, NOI is net, after expenses, always. I'm sorry. And what was it? Can you give me the examples?
Oh, what?
Wow.
I'm just messing with it.
Oh, okay. But you wanted to go over,
Oh, the price? Those?
Hmm?
What, over cap rates?
yeah. You want me to do an example of between two different properties?
Oh, yeah, you can do that. So let's say Ferry Street, 177 Ferry Street is whatever.
Property A.
So, property A,
177 First Street.
Yeah.
Property A.
right. So an operating system there, operating income is 28,000 dollars.
Okay.
And the cap rate there is, have about 5.5.
You said 5?
5.5.
Okay. And then property B?
Property B is also in Ironbound, but let's say it's here on Astor Street,
Property B.
okay? So same, so people know. Here will be at 7.5.
More or less the same,
Same,
same
28,000.
28,000? Okay.
Yeah, but 7.5. Only 12 blocks away.
Okay.
Got a question. Does it apply, can this be applied to the residential, commercial route?
5 units or more.
Mixed use.
Mixed use?
Mixed use or 5 units or more, you can go into the cap rate. Residential, 1 to 4, you do comps, like sales. All right. So property A, how do we calculate the value?
28,000
Where does 28,000 go?
on top.
Okay.
Exactly what goes on the rate, 5.5. And we'll divide.
And this equals
8,000 divided by 5.5 equals 5,090,000.
5 million.
No.
No.
509,000, sorry.
Big mistake you guys make, I'm letting you know right now. Don't forget the percentage keys, don't forget the 0.00 whatever, because then it's gonna give you a big number and you forgot something. Divide by 100 or the percentage. So it's 500 in?
509. 509.
Okay. 1,000?
So,
That's the value of property.
yeah.
Okay. That's the value of property A. Property B is the same 28,000,
28,000.
7.5%.
7.5. Okay.
The answer is
373.
373,000. So as you guys can see, a higher cap rate doesn't necessarily mean more money. That's why cap rate to me is not important. What's important to know is the net, right? And then we apply the cap rate based on the comps and what's it's worth. It could be a high cap rate, it could be a low cap rate. If numbers make sense as far as the income, right? Then you know the value. Simple. How much do you want to take home, guys? Is $28,000 enough? If you have multiple properties, maybe. If it's just one property, to me, I wouldn't even put the money into it. Does that make sense? So it doesn't matter what the cap rate is. I wouldn't. Questions?
Why do you think that way?
Why?
Yeah. Why would you not invest in one of those properties?
Well, I personally wouldn't. This one maybe, because it's a lower investment, same return. Maybe. Right? But being a commercial property, more headaches. More chances of being reassessed at higher values. More chances of having to pay for the burden of running the whole town versus residential where they're a little bit more lenient. More imposed regulations, inspections, more plumbing issues, a lot of headaches. So $28,000 is not enough. This is the year. It's not enough for me to invest in my opinion.
That is 28,000 per month. Now we have a different conversation.
While you're pushing it, but not for 300,000. All right. Anyway, questions? The importance of cap rates is that, know what the value is. Okay. There's anybody knows where Mays Landing is? Okay. You know where it is? Huh? Down south. Right. It's an up and coming area, right? So there's a 600 plus units. It's 3 buildings, 600 plus unit there for sale. Cap rate is 4.42%. Based on what we just saw, is that a good deal?
How much are we considering?
I mean, not for you. What we need to know is this. How much I take home at the end of the day. That's what you need to know. It's not about the cap rate, it's about what you put in your pocket. And how long it's gonna take for you to get a return on your money.
Put out of the pocket. Because now you're looking at the banks, the financial, either you have the whole cash, or the banks don't like that deal.
Absolutely. But right off the bat, I wanna know how much is gonna come to my pocket. Is it worth even looking any further? Right? And then there's other things that we could, because cap rate could be adjusted. If you don't know how to manage your property, right, then you have expenses that are not necessary. So let's look at it, you know? This is my point. First, I want to know right now, right off the bat, managed properly or mismanaged, how much comes to my pocket. That's my first thing to look at. Where residentials are the same. It's not about the sales price, it's about how much comes to my pocket. If the rentals are not good enough, then what's the point? There's people buying properties for $700,000 right now, right? $700,000, 2s and 3 families, but they don't have the rental income to support the mortgage they're gonna get. So again, we go back to the same thing. How much comes to my pocket? In that scenario, I'm putting money out of pocket. Simple. Now, then you're gonna look at this to figure out the debt service, the mortgage, right? The first thing that I look at is that. How much of the property? Is it worth the headache? Because if I have a 100-unit apartment building, it only brings me $28,000 a year to manage 100 units, the plumbing that we just talked, having an employee and all that stuff. Doesn't matter how I'm gonna turn this, I don't want it. A bank could offer me the money, I don't want it, it's too much of a headache. You see my point? Right. So it's good to know these things and then look at everything else. Because if there's enough money coming in net, there's also easy to adjust for a mortgage. With $28,000, could you pay for a mortgage as well? Now, how much you take home? You see what I'm saying? So start with that number first. Questions? Next question. Lauren, any questions? No?
I mean, I'm sure I do, but.
I'm sure I do, but I never opened the book.
I said, yeah.
Just said yeah. Lord South.
I'm good.
Stop biting your nails. It's not going to make it any better. The fact that she responds to it is amazing. I know that.
So, back to the unit. What if they were dorms?
Back to the what?
Remember, you were just talking about the massive unit, right? In Mays Landing?
Oh, so
Totally
no,
off topic, though. Totally off topic.
completely off topic. But yeah, no. It is a great deal for someone that has cash. That particular group of property is a great deal for someone that has cash. And it's not dorms. It's actually, there's studios and there's 1 and 2 bedrooms there. It's mixed. Over 600 units. And the deal is good, but again, for someone that has cash. Financing, they're going to bury themselves into it. Somebody has dorms, doesn't make any sense either. Because now you have to. The problem with dorms, and there's a property that was just offered recently, the problem with rooms, that's what dorms are, right? The problem with rooms is you have to register the property as a rooming house. Totally different regulations.
So, okay, what if instead of dorms, hypothetically,
I missed that word.
let's say if they were like studios, meaning you go in there or whoever goes in there and they're renting out the room for office space.
Mhm.
Like some units can be office spaces, some can be residential, some can be like art studios.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of other fun things.
So, it's difficult to talk about that without looking at the numbers. What can you do with those numbers? There's too much to play there. What is the real rental income for that particular area on that type of scenario? Of some being this, some being that. You need to be more specific on those numbers. And if you don't know the market, don't even think about it.
Are you buying?
Does that make sense?
No, I'm thinking.
No, but does that make sense or no? The fact that it's almost impossible for you to determine values.
If it's a mixed use.
Not only being a mixed use, it's a market that you do not know. So I can throw anything at you. I have a huge list of properties I can throw at you nationwide. But if you don't know the area, it might look like a good deal, and once you get to the area, it's really not a good deal.
Can I get that list though?
Huh?
Can I get the list?
Yeah, for $1,000 a month, I'll get you this.
So,
So, isn't that what some people are doing? They get exclusive lists, and then if you want to be part of this exclusive group, X amount of dollars a month. Not a bad idea, but
Flipping Vegas and stuff like that, right? That's when you roll those beautiful numbers.
no, listen. Some of these are not bad deals.
and if you're how to work it.
And if I have the database and you need the database, why not charge for it? No, listen, nothing is wrong. Making money, as long as you do it legally, nothing is wrong. If I have to charge you a subscription service, I will. Isn't that what gyms do? They know you're not going to go exercise. But they still charge you a monthly fee, lock you for 1 year of that monthly fee, and they know you show up only twice. 1 to register and 2 to complain. Why am I still paying?
If you don't call them within 60 days, not to renew, you automatically renew for another year.
That's what I'm saying.
Bingo.
My point exactly.
I didn't know that.
One time I had an investor looking for a halfway location to do the halfway house. How do they make, I understand they make a lot of money, those guys.
Yeah.
There's one on Ferry Street.
Because there's grants for that.
Government funded.
There's one on Ferry Street. There's plenty of those in by the port. But there's a bunch of government funding towards that.
That's how they make their money.
Yeah, it falls under behavioral health. So yeah, a lot of grants. But you need to have a few people on staff, which would cost you a lot of money. So if you don't know what you're doing, yeah. Yeah. Does everybody know what a halfway house is?
Halfway in, halfway out. I mean, literally what it means.
It is what it is. You're halfway out of prison. Yeah, they kind of give you a chance of living kind of a normal life within certain curfews. We know that you're going to go to work, and you know you have to come back from work. And that's pretty much the time you have. Halfway in, halfway out. And then if you behave after a certain period of time, they release you into the wilderness, and that's what it is. So can you make money? You can make money with anything. You can make money with the dorms. There's this guy that I know from California. That's all he does. He invests in student housing. So near colleges, he buys apartment buildings, converts all into dorms, and boom, that's his money. Lots of money. Anything in volume is money. That's why I said the numbers. It could be $1 million. You just need to look at the net, what you take home. It could be $200,000, and you make more money than the $1 million income. So, gotta look at it. Questions? Next. A few more minutes before I let you guys run. Take advantage now. And for tomorrow, make sure you prepare all of them. All the questions. A lot of studying this week.
Tomorrow we're going to
Hmm?
chapter
23? We did chapter 23. Chapter 23 we did, when we finished chapter 8, we did 1 through 8. Okay? The only thing we didn't do yet, which I might do tomorrow, we'll see. The only thing we didn't do yet is from chapter 17 to 22, or 16 to 22. That's the only thing I didn't do yet. Questions?
Question is,
Not phones, questions. We're still in class, thank you.
Ask us a question.
Hmm?
Ask us a question.
That's what I've been doing this whole time. I want you guys to now, whatever you've been studying, ask me the questions. No phones, please, we're still in class.
Yeah.
You have a chance right after. Dante, yes?
I'll tell you what the issues I'm having
Yep,
with this.
Go.
It's
everything?
exactly. Yeah, just from chapter 1 to 22, everything else I got.
Okay.
It's actually memorizing. So
Okay.
I know what things are. I can't remember the name for specific thing. Just like the HUD thing, I knew exactly what it was,
Mhm.
couldn't remember.
But are you finding that while you're studying, or now when we went over it? Like while you're doing the.
Well, no. So I'm listening to the classes again. So the classes I've been listening on repeat. Those I'm good. It's just, I guess because I'm new to this.
Okay, so there's a lot of stuff that if it's words, for instance, there's a glossary at the end of the book.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
But as far as memorizing, it's what I've been trying to tell you guys. If you don't spend the time, at least 15 minutes a day from the beginning, like now it's over, but if you don't spend the time at least from the beginning to take 15 minutes a day, no more than that, 15. And during those 15 minutes, you're completely focused on it, no distractions. If you don't take that time, then things start, it's like a snowball effect. The later you study, the worse it is. It's too much to go over. If you're constantly reviewing, then by the time you're at the end, you're good to go. As far as specific terms, I understand that if you have no experience in the real estate or in the mortgages, specific terms will be difficult to remember. And that's why while I was teaching, I go back and forth. I always try to go back to the first chapters and associate. Look, we're doing this now, remember, in that chapter, whatever. Right? Try to associate. These specific things like HUD-1, GFE, and all that stuff, it does get complicated. It's the toughest chapters to remember because there's a lot of terms, especially 13, 14, 15, and 16. So mortgages and appraisals. There's a lot of terms. Those are the ones you should review more frequently throughout this.
Yes, I've been doing a lot of 1, 2, and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Remember, 1 through 3 are the core, but when I say the core is because chapter 10, 11, and 12 keeps on going back to 1, 2, and 3. Right? So they're core as far as agency and ethics, right? But when you get to mortgages, it has nothing to do with chapter 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
And there are still a substantial amount of questions in mortgages and appraisals. Contracts, again, goes always back to 1, 2, and 3. So they go hand in hand. It's easier. Right? But so your problem is mainly memorizing.
Memorize. I used commingling in a conversation yesterday.
You used commingling? What kind of
Terrible.
commingling were you doing?
Huh?
Sorry.
I don't remember. Yeah. It was just about mixing something up. And I'm like, oh yeah, commingling. I'm like, oh god.
And how did the person take it?
They had no idea what I
Would you like to commingle with me?
that wasn't it. But yeah,
No.
That's some Chinese.
This is commingling, is
That's
what
what
we're
it
doing.
is, yeah.
yeah.
I don't know what you were thinking, but this is
Oh, no,
commingling
no,
right
it was
here.
about like putting things together. But yeah.
Gotcha. So they clearly did not understand Chinese. We got it.
Okay. Yeah.
Great.
No complaints.
But yeah, one of the things you have to do, and I've learned that the hard way, is that for you to really learn what you have here, you have to speak it out. You have to voice it. You have to talk to somebody else, even if they're not listening. Talk to them, right? So traditionally, the spouse. On both ends, right? I'm sure you had that with Nelson, where you try to tell him what you learned, and he's like, da, 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 da. Right? It happens. But if you have a cat, if you have a dog, right? That's what you do. You talk to the dogs. Spouse doesn't listen anymore, so talk to the dogs, and that works. Just voice it out. If you're trying to just read, you won't grasp much. If you're reading and then you explain to somebody, that's when you learn. If you really want to learn something, teach. The reason why I know this book inside out,
You taught too much.
but it's not repetition anymore. It's not even a repetition, it's a full understanding of almost every word that's in the book. Makes a huge difference. So teach, talk to somebody, express it.
I have a suggestion.
Yeah.
What I did is I got away from the questions that's in the book, and I would go online, and take questions from there, because it changes up the question. And if I got something wrong, then I went back to the book and looked it up, and kind of gave you more of a basics. Because after you did the questions in class, like you start remembering what answer you took. So,
With that being said, in the Facebook group, the very first thing that pops up, if you're going on your computer, if it's on your phone, you're gonna have to search for it. First thing that pops up is the exam, which now you guys can do. My exam, what I have there, as you go through it, is gonna give me an answer of an idea of where you are. Once you complete it, gives me the results. I forward the results to you with the answers you had incorrect, and it also gives you why it was incorrect. Okay? So, go to the Facebook group. You don't have to go anywhere else. You don't need other people's tools anymore, because my Facebook group, our Facebook group, where we get to commingle online, okay, has all those tools.
well, thank you. I'm glad you used that. I don't know how much searching I had to do last time.
Listen. Yeah, but I'm constantly adding, there's over 600 questions there. I'm constantly adding questions and answers, obviously. One of the things,
Because I only see the chapters that you put online.
that's what I said, on your phone, you have to go to the search bar and write exam or test yourself. So write exam or write test, and it should pop up.
What else is there? The PowerPoint?
You have the PowerPoints, you have the math cheat sheet, so you just take advantage of the group. Everything is there, not just the videos. If you guys ask questions, I get to do quick videos about those questions. The problem is nobody asks questions except for Louis. But that's what it is. I'm trying to put as much info there as possible to get to one point where you don't have to go anywhere else, just there.
Oh, yeah, you definitely.
Huh?
Um,
Yeah, you found it? Good. There might be a problem, if you guys have iPhones, or if you're using Safari, it might stop you right away and say that you need to allow cookies or whatever it is, so it says that you cannot move forward. You have to accept it, and from there on, it will allow you to do it. So you have to follow the instructions on that error page. Unfortunately, happens a lot to iPhones, because apparently you guys are not compatible with anything. So,
That's true.
just saying. Oh, but we get no viruses. Yeah, sure. Anyway, still, the whole world doesn't want to know about you. Next. So yeah, try to do the. At this point, you guys should definitely try those. I get the results and forward it to you. If you have any questions about those specific results, then you ask me, Bruno, why was it this versus that? The same way we're doing here, that's what you should do. And then again, I'll create feedback. I'll create videos explaining why is one thing and not the other.
So if somebody was to do it today, tomorrow, would you be able to go over those? Or
So
is it
if
longer?
you were to do it today, I get the results immediately,
Okay.
and I forward right back to you. So I'll give you, it will show you your percentage. So I'm not going to show you now because it shows people's names, but it gives you your percentage, and then all the stuff that you had wrong, the question, and then it highlights what is that you answered and what would be the correct answer. All right. From there, you review and you bring tomorrow those questions and say, Bruno, on question number 23 of my exam, and I'll be able to see it. Question 23 of my exam, why is it A versus C? No, it's
Guys, everybody should have questions tomorrow.
There you go.
I said from day one, the tools are there. I told you after chapter 20, you guys can do this exam. For those that were here the first week, you will know
I
that.
did the first week at night, which we did not say that.
I did. Oh, wait, you got here 3 hours later.
That's not Charles on
Just
television.
messing with you. Easy, Miss Cocaine. All right. Questions? Real quick before I kick you out of here. Did you find it? No. So, do you mind if I have your phone for a second? iPhone, right?
Yeah, me too.
Thank you for your phone. Could you open the garbage?
I know.
All right. So, I'm gonna go back here. You need to be on the group. You don't even have the seriously. Your groups. And Master real estate instructor. Then here is where you search within the group. So you can write test or exam right there. Test yourself today. And it takes you to the test. Alright, so you have to be in the groups, so go to groups, your groups. It's right there. Test yourself today.
Show me on my phone.
So, what is, does it flip? Okay, there you go. So you can go in announcements. On yours is a lot easier. It's right there. Easy. Not bad, right? Did you know where it is?
Yeah, next year.
It's a lot better than the computer, but you can do it on your phone. It's the same thing. All right. So, guys, do you have any questions?
Is it one of the ones that you can take over and over and over again?
You can take. So there's a database of over 400 questions, just for that. And if you go test yourself again, it will pull random questions.
Nice.
So yes, you can go back to it and do it again. I think I've limited to 3 tries, right? Because I don't want you to just keep on testing. I want you to see the results of those 1, 2, or 3 tests and address the problem versus you just testing. Okay, so I'll be able to review and see where you're failing. It also gives me, so you guys know, it gives me per category. So I divided all the questions based on chapters. Chapter 1, questions from chapter 1, chapter 2, and so on. So you're gonna get random. Your first question could be math. Your last question could be mortgages. But it pulls random questions from each chapter. And at the end, I get the results saying, in mortgages, you had, just like the state exam, in mortgages, you had 1 correct out of 5, as an example. Or you had 5 out of 5. So I get to know where you're struggling.
Now, if we do poorly on that, let's say, would we?
You will not be able to move forward.
Can we opt out of taking the test next week
No.
and probably go over classes?
No. Take the test. Guys, listen to me. Take the test, get it out of the way. What's the worst that can happen?
Go again.
Do it again. Simple. But at least you know where you are. And believe it or not, I had somebody that online did great, and then paper did really bad. So when you're doing it at home, you have to treat this. This is very important. Just put your phones down for a second and pay attention to me. I know you're all excited about the exam and be able to do it online, but just pay attention to me. When you do this, close book. Make sure the book's not nowhere near you. When you do the online, treat this as if it was a state exam or the school exam. What does that mean? You have up to 4 hours, just like the state exam. There's 110 questions, just like the state exam, right? So make sure it's 4 hours that you have your undivided attention. Meaning, no kids running around, you're not at work, you're not driving, because I know people driving and trying to answer these. It's just distractions. You're not at a cafe. I'm just telling you guys to make sure that you are by yourself, your phone is off. It's a time that nobody calls you. No distractions, I'm telling you. Don't roll your eyes. It's the same as being in the exam, because when you go to the exam, this is serious, when you go to the exam, you cannot have your phone. So you guys need to learn how to survive, for the exam at least, you need to learn how to survive without your phone for 4 hours. And I see you guys struggle with it. I got it. You have business, I have business. My phone is here, and I have to address it right after, the same way as you. The difference, the biggest difference, is I already have my license. So you respect your time the way you want. I'm just giving you a heads up. If you want to pass, that's what you have to do when you're studying. Phones away while you're studying. If you're constantly touching your phone, your mind is not in the test, in the study or the testing. Your mind is in the work, the kids, the school, the whatever, but not in what you're doing. It's 75 hours. Got it. Get this out of the way before you have to come back again. Got it? Yes?
Yes.
All right, cool. So, then let you guys go a little early, right? Do the test if you want and use that as your questions for tomorrow. We can go over it. Or just go through the book, study, and bring me questions tomorrow. As many as you can, because that's what we're going to do. Good? All right. Thank you, guys. And